This is a follow-up video that I posted about a week ago, why I don't care about racism. I got a lot of flack from comments and a whole bunch of people saying all kind of stuff. And I wanted to make a follow-up to clarify a lot of my positions. There are two disclaimers I want to acknowledge before I continue. The first one is there's going to be a lot of black folk and non-black folk who are going to disagree with a lot of my positions in what I say in this video. I think you're entitled to believe whatever you want. You don't have to agree with me. I believe what I'm going to say is truth. So if you disagree, go ahead and do it. But if you're going to try to clown me and bash me in the comments, it's not going to work. You can't beat me into submission to agree with what you're saying. It doesn't work on me. The second thing is that I've done a lot of research on this topic, but my main inspiration is a video I'm going to leave in the description below by a man of Pastor Darby who passed away a few years ago. He explains what I'm about to say 10 times better than I do. So I still recommend you click the link in the description to watch that video after you've watched this one. He explains things. He goes more into depth of things that I'm about to mention, and I think it'll be beneficial for anyone watching this video. I guess the third disclaimer is that I don't hate anybody. I don't hate white people. I don't hate black people, Latino, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, any of that. I don't hate anybody. So everything I'm saying in this video is not coming from a place of hatred or insecurity. I'm just stating what I believe to be true. If at the end of this video you still think that I am a hateful person, I'm ignorant and whatsoever, there's nothing more I can say. If you still come to the same conclusions that I'm a hateful person, do you, man? I can't do anything about that. But regardless, let's continue. You guys see the title of this video, The Main Problem with Black People. And I'm going to start by saying this. A lot of the things that we are taught are not true. A lot of the things we believe is not true. I believe that there is a massive deception going on, that there's many things that have been rewritten in history, a lot of things that are kept away from the public to keep us deceived. A lot of these truths are starting to come out, but I believe in the near future, the world is going to really see the truth about things that we weren't told by the powers that be and the elites. One of those being that I believe that black people are the real Jews. I don't mean all black people. I mean a sector of blacks who originated in the Middle East, who through the Roman Empire migrated to what's known as West Africa. Originally, West Africa, the countries that surround Nigeria, Ghana, was originally known as Negro land. Negro was not a derogatory term to define a people. It was more so just a term to define a location of people. Because in the ancient world, you weren't defined necessarily by skin color. It was more so where your tribe was from, what location you came from. Skin color is a recent phenomenon that's been used to discriminate and separate us. But originally, it was the tribe you came from. But that land in West Africa, originally known as Negro land, its former name was actually the Kingdom of Judea, because a lot of the Jews who were in the Middle East through the Roman Empire, through being expelled or scattered, for lack of a better word, eventually traveled to that place in West Africa that I mentioned called Negroland. That area of Africa is the ancestors of most of black people in the West. In the Americas, the Caribbean, a lot of black people in North America, South America, and the Caribbean, our ancestors originate from Western Africa, because that was the slave trade movement, the Atlantic slave trade that brought us to the Americas. Originally in Africa, there were rival tribes who were fighting against each other, and tribes that were conquered were made slaves. And these slaves were sold to white Europeans for guns and resources, and then those slaves were brought to the America, and here we are right now. I believe this information was not revealed to us and not told to us or erased from history for black people in the West not to know our origin, because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. And this strikes a huge identity crisis. And with this crisis comes people not knowing who they are, people acting the fool, people believing lies or coming up with their own origin of how they got here. And I believe currently in this culture, there is a lot of people who are waking up, or they have clues to where they come from. For example, the Black Hebrew Israelites or the Nation of Islam, they're hinting or they're discovering some things, but I don't agree with their conclusions. And a lot of these pro-black movements, I find, are powered by hatred, insecurity, pride, and all those things. I think they think something's right, but a lot of what they do is wrong. For example, a lot of these Pan-Africans or people of that kind of like woke pro-black end up worshiping ancestors and Egyptian witchcraft and mysticism, all that. I don't agree with that. I believe in that the God of the Bible is true. I don't believe in trying to find the truth about your origin, leading you into witchcraft. I don't believe that's the answer, and I don't think that's the truth. Now, because I am saying that black people are the real Jews, think about it. That's why a lot of black people are persecuted. A lot of black people are hated for no reason. And we've gone through so much because I believe that we are the chosen people of God to be the example to other nations. Now, biblically speaking, Jesus Christ is the answer. And it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or Gentile. If you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins and he becomes your Lord and Savior, you're born again, you're able to go into heaven. Not only that, the Gentile who practices godly principles will always be more successful than the Jew that doesn't. So salvation is not a matter of a people, but I do believe that many blacks in the West, we are kept from this information to keep us confused, to end up controlling us, which I'm going to get into. I believe that the powers that be know this and they believe this. That's why we've been deceived, and they've done so much to destroy our minds and to destroy our communities. Because before the 1960s in the West, black people were married. The black man and the black woman loved each other and raised up kids. We're the only group in human history who went from 0% literacy in 50 years going to 50% literacy or a little bit above that, which has never happened in human history. We were the most religious out of any group in America because we had faith in God, even more than the white people. And we were growing out of poverty faster than our white neighbors. The powers that be didn't like that. And because they couldn't put us in chains anymore and keep us enslaved, they had to find another method to destroy the black family. Here comes welfare, the war on poverty, and the war on drugs, in which they incentivized the black woman to marry the government, to abandon their husbands so they can get money from the government. Now you have a culture brewing in which young kids are grown up without a proper masculine figure. And because the man is a protector, the foundation, the family's vulnerable. So welfare was able to do what slavery and segregation could not do, which was destroy the black home. And whoever pays you is the one who rules you. So now that the government is, black women are getting paid by the government to have kids out of wedlock, kids are becoming more of a meal ticket and a way to get money than to start a family and grow a solid foundation. Combined with that, you have these 3-letter organizations that introduce drugs into the community. Now, black Americans are selling drugs and poison to each other, destroying even more of our communities. A perfect example of this is last year I watched the show Snowfall, which I love. I think it's a great show. But the main character, Franklin Saint, grew up in a broken home, saw his mom struggling, typical single mother story you find in the inner cities. And this led him into selling drugs, in which he became an extremely rich kingpin off of selling poison to his own people. And throughout the whole show, he mentions how, the system wasn't designed for us blacks and it's meant to destroy us, but your solution is to get rich off of destroying your own people. And in the show, he gets a lot of his product from a CIA agent. So this 3-letter organization is helping you to destroy your own community, but you believe that you're sticking it to the man and you find another way and you're not obeying by their rules by destroying your own people, which is exactly what the powers that be want. Because we've already heard that the CIA works, or the prison system works with record labels to promote rappers and music that promote derogatory lifestyle and mindsets. Our women are being whored out, half naked on camera. The rappers and the musicians are talking about selling drugs and sleeping with a whole bunch of women. I'm gonna kill you if you look at me wrong. Now there's this ghetto mindset that's being developed within the black community. So now that they can't enslave you with chains, they have to enslave you by your mind, by keeping you insecure about yourself. So they'll constantly give you movies about slavery and segregation and have you feel so insecure about being black because, one, you don't know where you come from, and two, they've programmed you to think that you're lesser than the white man and you're lesser than every other group. And then they help promote stereotypes about your people that you end up promoting. So when a lot of people complain to me saying, no, well, that's government propaganda to say that, black women are, overweight and, the welfare system and blacks growing up in a single mother household, that's all stereotypes from the government, but you're also reinforcing them stereotypes. So even if it's an agenda for the government to destroy the black image, it doesn't help when black people are participating in that image. So because the elites know where you come from and you don't, and they know you're special people because in the tribe of Judah, they're musicians and they're worshipers. That's a gift given to us by the Most High. That's why some of the most legendary musicians and entertainers are black people, because we have a gift of influencing culture. That's why youth culture is always led by black people. We come up with the new terms, the terminology, the dance moves, the dressing, the fashion, because we're blessed. And the elites know that. But because our communities are so broken, in which we don't know who we are, black men are killing each other, black women are aborting their babies. The statistics said like 1 out of every 2 black children are aborted. And Planned Parenthood and abortion was founded by, I forgot her name, but it was a white supremacist who wanted to destroy the black race. And she even mentioned that she was going to use black preachers to preach that abortion is right. And now black people are self-exterminating, because originally when we had families, we were having babies. And at the rate we were going, we probably would have outgrew the white population. But now we're killing our own children. Also, these 3-letter organizations tend to use black people as puppets. If they want to introduce a new way of thought or a new ideology, they use black people to promote it. You want to promote feminism? Introduce it to the black community. Black women, out of any other group of women, have adopted feminism into our culture. I don't need no man. These men ain't good. I'm independent. I want to follow my career. Like, the mindset's already in the community, where it's conditioning the women not to even love their men. And then through the music and through pop culture, black women have promoted feminism. Communism, because of America's racist past, we've been taught that capitalism is of the white man, it's of the devil, and that it's a system made to suppress us. Ideas like socialism and communism become more likable because on the surface it's saying, well, one class is ruling over the other class, so through communism and socialism, it'll level the playing field. And for people that's been suffering in the country, those ideologies become, attractive to you, because you think, oh, that will help our suffering, when honestly, it's just used to give the government more power. Drugs, like I mentioned before, you introduce drugs into the community, and now the rappers are talking about how being a drug dealer is the best thing ever. And then young kids from the inner city who ain't got nothing, who are broke, they see that the drug dealers got all the women and the money, and now they want to be drug dealers. And I went through that period in my life where I grew up in poverty, and all the people around me who got the women in respect were drug dealers, and I almost ended up selling drugs. Thank God it didn't happen. But I'm just trying to show you how whenever the government wants to introduce a new thought to the culture, they use black people to do it. That's why whenever you find it with election times, when it comes to, getting people to go to the booth, the Democrats are always shouting racism, the white man hates you, the system is oppressive. And they highlight some instance of a cop shooting a black man, and they are getting your emotions riled up. And because black culture is a matriarchy where the women lead our culture, which is out of order, a lot of black people are overly emotional. So they have to stir up your emotions for you to go to the booth and vote in people who couldn't care less about you, because you're just used as a political pawn to promote their own agendas. And I believe the people who call themselves Jews are actually descendants of the Ashkenazi. They're Eastern Europeans who adopted Judaism and somehow convinced the world that they're God's chosen people, which is wrong. Because even with that country we call Israel, which I don't believe is really Israel, what they're doing in Palestine is not godly at all. And I think October 6th of last year is highlighting what's really going on, and people are starting to figure out, okay, something is not right. So the people who rule us and rule a lot of the companies and industries that call themselves Jews, they're descendants of Europeans who adopted Judaism, but I don't believe that they're genetically or ethnically the real Jews. I believe that to be, like I mentioned before, the descendants of people who come from West Africa or Negro land. Now, I'm trying to tie everything up together to make it make sense. Now, in the original video, I mentioned why I don't care about racism. Here's what I meant. I think the biggest issue of black people in the West, specifically America, is the fact that we don't know these things. Because if you truly knew who you were, would you be killing your brother? Would you be having babies out of wedlock? Would you be going to these white supremacist organizations, deleting your children in the womb? Would you be promoting destructive lifestyles to your people, selling poison to your people if you really knew who you were? Marcus Garvey is a popular black intellectual. And one thing that he mentioned was that, I'm paraphrasing right now, is that he wanted to save black people, but he couldn't rescue them from their own slave minds because they've been programmed to believe that they're less than, that every other group is better than them. And when you believe that you're worth nothing, you treat yourself that way. Have you ever noticed that real black revolutionaries, people who can actually enact change, end up getting killed? Because there's also a lot of black gatekeepers who the elites use to keep you, a black person in the West, in a certain mind frame. Because these black gatekeepers, they're used by the elites to control you, because they know that you won't listen to anyone outside of you won't listen to anyone who doesn't look like you. So they have to select a few black people. They give them a little prestige, power, and money to have them feel good. Then they're just mouthpieces of the elites to keep you in a certain mind frame. These are the Al Sharptons, Jesse Jacksons, those kind of types. And the black folk who are actually trying to wake black people up, because you've been so programmed to hate each other, you oftentimes find that black people end up killing their own messiahs or people who were supposed to wake them up. So a longtime viewers of this channel know that when I mention these things, I oftentimes got attacked by my own people. It wasn't the whites, the Asians, or the Indians who were attacking me. It's my own people, because you've been trained to go after your own people through the elites, through the indoctrination, and through the manipulation that they've done for us for centuries now. So how can you fight a system when your own home is in chaos? How can I fight an oppressive system when the very people that I'm trying to help is attacking me, want to destroy me? And whenever you find that black people wake up and they're actually making progress, for example, Black Wall Street, you'll find that these three-letter organizations somehow infiltrate the movement and scatter it, either by using, again, these black gatekeepers to infiltrate and destroy everything, or just head on destroying the foundation of the black community, like I mentioned, with welfare, with the introduction of drugs, promoting nonsense through the culture, all that, etc. So the main issue is not necessarily racism. It's the fact that black people are so divided that we can't come together to fight the system. Because how can a man fight the world and then come into his own household and have to fight in his own house? That's tiring. You can't come together. You can't build. You can't gather resources to set yourselves free, because you'll always be infiltrated by other people who are manipulated by the system and these black gatekeepers. And you're also finding your own insecure mentality, thinking that you're less because you don't know who you are and where you come from. Because in a previous video, I mentioned about that I am a son of immigrants. And I find that with black people, it's very strange. A lot of woke black people, they want to believe that we're all in this together. That doesn't matter if you're from the Caribbean, from Africa, or from America. We're all black people being screwed by the system. But yet when I mention things like this, people want to say, oh, you're not one of us because you're from the islands or you're from this country. Like, you ever find with people, they move the goalposts just to win an argument? Aren't we all black people, according to a lot of these woke black folk? But the moment I mention I'm a son of immigrants, all of a sudden I'm not like you. But we all have the same ancestry, coming from Negro land, West Africa. That I don't get. Like, people try to find any way to win an argument, even if it means contradicting themselves. So I mentioned all that to say this. For Black Americans or Black people in the West to move forward, we have to recognize the manipulation and the deception, but also fix our broken culture. Have Black men and women marrying each other, growing up babies, stop aborting our babies, stop promoting nonsense in the culture, stop promoting insecurity and pride and all these things that are destroying us. Because if we can't come together to build our community and to build our people, the system will always screw us over, because we're so infiltrated through Black gatekeepers and our destructive mindsets that no matter how much we try to start a revolution, they'll always win. So when I mention about racism, you've seen that there is successful Black people who've made millions, who are successful. That means it's possible. But racism is on the bottom of the list of the issues that we're facing, because if you're having babies out of wedlock and you're killing each other, you're allowing curses to be put on your people. That's limiting what you can do. And again, if you don't know who you are, you'll believe anything, you'll act out any kind of way. And then when other people in your group are trying to wake you up to see the deception and manipulation, you want to attack them and say, oh, shut up, or you don't know what you're talking about, you're ignorant, or you're just a bootlegger of the white man, you're Uncle Tom, you're all these kind of things. But like, anyone who's followed this channel since the beginning knows I've said these things to wake Black people up, not so I can bash them to feel good about myself. I don't care about that. I see the manipulation and the deception, and I want to make aware of that. And for me, racism is not going to stop me from being successful, because my mind has been freed from the slavery that they've programmed us for centuries now. So our main issue is getting our house in order first. Stop hating each other. Stop being discriminatory against each other with colorism, light skin, dark skin, all these things that don't matter. You cannot fight a system if your house is broken. And as long as your house is broken and your culture is promoting nonsense to destroy your community, you'll never win against the system. But even on an individual level, if you work hard, if you learn the truth about yourself, where you're supposed to be going, and if you apply right principles, you will become successful. And there's nothing the white man can do to stop you, because the white man doesn't have a gun pointed at you telling you to do these things. It's your own actions from your own deception is why you're doing these things. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. Like I've said in the beginning, I left the link in the description below for the video about where we really come from. Again, watch that video. It would be great. If I feel the need to elaborate more on certain things, I will. But if you've listened to everything I've said and you come to the conclusion that I'm still a hateful person that hates my community and I'm ignorant, ain't nothing more I can say. And again, I don't hate anybody. I don't say this out of malice or because of insecurity or hatred. I say this because I believe it to be the truth, and I want to help wake people up from deception. So if you got this far, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because it does help with the algorithm. YouTube will give you a recommendation for videos here. Yeah, and that's all. So I hope that cleared up some stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.